Ron Bowman for Black Wrestling News. Let's get right down to it. History has been made in All Elite Wrestling. They crowned the first ever African American World Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, Swerve Strickland. I was watching a couple of podcasts the other evening, and they were talking about how Swerve Strickland isn't good enough. He doesn't meet the criteria nor standards to be the champion, and that they're only setting him up to fail because they really want the other guy, the Caucasian guy, to be the champion. Let me just say this as I get started. There's nothing wrong with black wrestlers. You know, Tony Atlas should have been a world wrestling heavyweight champion many times over. He should have been Mr. Olympia. Instead, that organization, and I'll talk about them another time, and I'm going to go all in on them. They didn't want a black man to be the standard bearer for their company, so they chose Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's nothing wrong with black wrestlers. The only thing is, there aren't that many black wrestling promoters who are wealthy out there enough to crown their own champions. But the time is here. Times are changing. Pretty soon, you'll find out. But for now, who is Swerve Strickland? Where did he come from? How did his meteoric rise from humble beginnings on the independent circuit, from NXT and scrapping and fighting his way to the top of the food chain in the world of professional wrestling, aka sports entertainment? So once again, I'm Tyrone Bowman. This is Black Wrestling News. So tonight I'm talking about the newly crowned first ever Black World AEW Heavyweight Champion, Swerve Strickland. So according to Wikipedia, Stefan Strickland, who was born September 30th, 1990, is an American professional wrestler. And I'm going to add in spoken parentheses, a black professional wrestler. He is signed to All Elite Wrestling, or AEW, where he performs under the ring name Swerve Strickland. He is the leader of Mogul Embassy and is the current AEW World Champion. In his first reign, he is the first African American wrestler to obtain the title in the company. Now let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Strickland began his career on 2008 working as Shane Strickland for several independent promotions until 2019, including Major League Wrestling, Evolve Wrestling, and Combat Zone Wrestling, winning the main titles of these promotions: the MLW World Heavyweight Championship, Evolve Championship, and CZW World Heavyweight Championship. From 2014 and 2018, Strickland also worked for El Rey Lucha Libre based TV series Lucha Underground, where he performed as a masked wrestler named Killshot. In 2019, he signed a development contract with WWE, where he worked as Isaiah, quote, Swerve, close quote, Scott. He stayed on the developmental brand NXT as part of Hit Row Stable, winning the NXT North American Championship. But soon after he made his main roster debut on SmackDown, he was released. You know, y'all do some of the dumbest stuff in the WWE. Y'all really do. I just have to go on record and say, sometimes y'all just stupid over there. Why? Because you didn't believe in the black man? You didn't think he had what it took to be on the main roster? You didn't think he could draw the crowds and draw the money and sell the merchandise? Well, how the hell could he if you didn't give him an opportunity to do so? Yeah, look who's laughing now. Stupid. After his WWE release, he changed his name to Swerve Strickland and signed with AEW. He formed a tag team with Keith Lee, winning the AEW World Tag Team Championship. After turning on Lee, Strickland became the leader of the Mogul Embassy stable. At AEW Dynasty, he defeated Samoa Joe to become the AEW World Champion. So let's talk about Strickland's early life. Stephen Strickland was born in Tacoma, Washington on September 30th, 1990. His father, who was a sergeant first class cook in the United States Army, moved the family to Germany when Strickland was 2 months old to live on an American military base in Frankfurt. Strickland spent the first 7 years of his life in Germany. The family later returned to the United States and settled in Mount Joy, Pennsylvania, where Strickland attended Donegal High School. He danced in talent shows and excelled in football, basketball, and track and field. Shortly after leaving high school, Strickland felt the need to follow in his father's footsteps and enlisted in the United States Army Reserve at the age of 17. He carried out his United States Army basic training in South Carolina, then underwent 22 weeks of advanced individual training at Fort Eisenhower in Augusta, Georgia. He was then stationed in York, Pennsylvania, where he served as a 25U signal support system specialist for 8 years. He left the Army Reserve in 2015. So just how did Swerve get involved in professional wrestling? His early in training career from 2000 to 2008, let's talk about it. Strickland decided to become a professional wrestler when he was 18 years old. He began training at Ground Zero Wrestling Training Academy in August of 2008, doing so while still serving in the United States Army Reserve. He soon began getting bookings around the Maryland and Pennsylvania areas. He had Army Reserve commitments in York, Pennsylvania, which obliged him to wrestle only in the general area's independent circuit in the early years of his career. In September 2011, Strickland made his first appearance with the National Wrestling Alliance, losing to Phil Brown. In March 2012, he defeated Alex Payne in his debut for East Coast Wrestling Association. He would go on to debut for World Extreme Wrestling in a six-man match on September 15th, 2012. After that, he decided to go over to Combat Zone Wrestling from 2012 until 2017. Strickland made his Combat Zone Wrestling, or CZW, debut on February 4th, 2012 in a dark match. On March 10th, 2012, at Aerial Assault, Strickland participated in the main event, a best of the best 11 qualifying aerial assault elimination match won by Somre Del Sol on November 10th, 2012, at Night of Infamy 11. Strickland participated in a CZW Wire TV challenge, but was defeated by the champion A.R. Fox. As best of the best 12, Strickland participated in the best of the best tournament, but he was defeated on the first round by Alex Colon. On September 14, 2013, at Down with the Sickness, Strickland participated in the main event at Chris Cash Memorial Fatal 4-Way Ladder Match for the CZW Wired TV Championship, but the match was won by Colon. At Cage of Death 14, Colon defeated Strickland in a title match. On March 8, 2014, at High Stakes, Strickland defeated the CZW Wired champion, Devon Moore, to win the title for the first time. At Best of the Best 13, Strickland retained the title against Moore in a ladder match. Then Strickland started a feud with Joe Gacy. At Dojo Wars 6, Strickland lost the title against Gacy. However, Strickland regained the title 2 weeks later at Dojo Wars 7. In October 2014, Strickland participated in the World Triangle Tournament, a tournament held by Westside Extreme Wrestling, Combat Zone Wrestling, and Big Japan Pro Wrestling. Strickland ended with 3-point in the Block B. Finally, at Cage of Death 16, Gacy defeated Strickland for the title after a lengthy absence in which he wrestled for WXW in Germany. Strickland made a one-time appearance in 2015 in a victory over David Starr. In 2016, Strickland had an acclaimed series of matches with Desmond Xavier, and in the 2017 Best of the Best tournament, he made it to the finals before losing to Dave Christ In July that same year, he then went on to defeat Gacy, Lloyd Rush, and Davey Richards in a four-way to win the CZW World Heavyweight Championship for the first time. He held on to the title until November before losing to Gacy, who then immediately lost the title to Ricky Shane Page. Page then challenged both men to a cage of death match for the title, which Strickland was unsuccessful at winning. So then Strickland decided to go into the independent circuit starting in 2012 to 2019 in the next video. In part 2, the profile, Swerve Strickland, the first Black World AEW Heavyweight Champion. I'm Tyrone Bowman. I'll see you in the next video.